Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today purchased his first rental property 16 years ago and has been a part of over 1,500 transactions. He's the author of the book, The 45-Day Investor, and has been quoted in Forbes, the Denver Business Journal, and Yahoo Real Estate. Kevin Amolsch is president of Pine Financial Group. Kevin, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Seth. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to meet you. I'm excited to be here, spend some time with you. Ready to go.
I'm pumped up. If somebody can show me the way to become an investor in 45 days, I'm all ears.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So to kick things off, do you want to tell me about your real estate goals right now? Like, what are you looking to accomplish?
You know, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I didn't really prepare much for that. Here's the thing. I've had a lot of success in my real estate career. Of course, it was tremendous struggle, tremendous effort and risks, and you know, I've lost a lot, and I finally feel like I've kind of made it. And I'm at the point in my life now where I don't have to push quite so hard. So to say a real estate goal, I don't know that I necessarily have that. I have more personal goals, and I have one major financial goal, and that's more of a net worth goal. Mm-hmm. However, that money comes in, and we're doing some different things right now. But a specific real estate goal, I feel like I've moved on a little bit from that.
Yeah. So that's interesting because you're not the first guest who said that, right? Okay. We have people on that are, starting out doing the grind, and then we also have people at the I guess at the pinnacle of their investing career, where now they're looking at, just their time, how they can get more time available and all that stuff. So I'm always fascinated because your mindset's a lot different than somebody else starting out or somebody in the middle of their business. So what are the priorities now for you? Like, is it time, or is it, you just want to simplify everything? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's as you grow in your business and your career, and you start creating passive income, and you start creating and feeling what that time and freedom is, your goals in your life completely change. Right now, I'm more focused on things that are much larger than me. I'm not so worried about the vacations and the cars and the houses. I participate in some charities. I'm trying to raise two amazing girls. And then obviously time with my friends and supporting and helping them. So I think I'm more focused on things bigger than I am.
Yeah. And would it be safe to say that that mindset has changed because, when you were back grinding it out, like how have you changed as a person in the way you think about real estate investing from the start to now?
I know one of the questions you wanted to ask me, Seth, is some specific deals, and it's kind of helped me in my career. And I was thinking about that, and I have so many to choose from. And I was like, I don't really know what to choose. Obviously, the first deal I ever did was huge, right? Because it kind of puts you on the map. You could see how you can create wealth and whatever it is that you want using real estate. So I was like, I'm focusing on that. And then I'm like, when my mindset, to get back to your question, when I was doing that one is, let's just get one done. I'm so focused on one transaction. And now my mindset is, if I'm not making this, I'm trying to be humble here, but just shoot it to you straight, Seth. If I'm not making six figures on a deal, I'm really not interested in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just over time and just seeing the profits come in and seeing what I'm capable of and believing in myself and all of that changes how you think.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you raised a really good point. Like, your time is so valuable. Why would you enter into a deal where you're not going to get that return that you set that benchmark, right?
Right. Yeah. It's your time and your effort and your dollars too.
Yeah.
And you can make more money in different types of transactions with the same amount of dollars in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any routines, maybe daily or weekly, that keeps not focused or hungry or lays out your week or day for you?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. I know a lot of people probably have similar routines. You wake up in the morning, you get your workout in, you read. I do that every single morning. But what really has changed my life, and I've been doing it for over a decade, is setting daily goals. And I call it daily goals, but it's really just a task list, right? Write down what it is you want to accomplish for the day and then prioritize it. So then when you're not working on things that are in your time block or however you manage your time, then you know exactly what your next task is and you can just work your way. And it just is a good flow for the day. And I feel like I can accomplish a lot more.
Yeah. And when you're creating that task list, do you try and front load it with all the heavy lift items up front? Do you have a strategy for that? Or do you just list it?
I don't know. I know most people are going to be listening, but here's my task list. I didn't know I was going to actually show it to you. It's just a notepad, right? And so what I do is I write down a day before or even a couple of days, I'll just write down what it is I need to accomplish on that day. And then when I wake up in the morning, after I read, I'm drinking my coffee, before I start working, before I even look at email, I'm going to prioritize it. So everything I want to accomplish goes on that list. Now, do I accomplish everything every day? No, but it would be a lower priority item at that point.
Yeah. How long ago did you start doing that task list?
It was over at, Stephen Covey, right? I mean,
really?
Back in the day when you would have those big Stephen Covey, Franklin Covey or whatever folders. So it was more than 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So that's been, would you say that's a key item in you being able to succeed with your investing, just having those clear defined tasks?
Yes. And it's all part of your mindset, right? If you create a goal by writing it down and you are committed to yourself, then you're going to accomplish it. So I might not get to it that day, but it just keeps going to the next day, until it's actually done. If I don't put it on paper, it may not ever get done.
Gotcha.
I think putting it down, having the mindset that I'm not going to fail myself, it gets done.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you mentioned there's like tons of deals that we can talk about. Are you able to just grab one and that really stands out?
Yeah, I did choose one, and it's basically because of when you sent me the invite and we started communicating about doing this amazing interview here, you suggested like something that's a little bit more inspiring to people and not all the failures. The failures is really what catapulted my career. But I didn't choose one of those. I chose a new development townhome project that I recently got done. About 6 months ago, I sold out of it. So we could talk about that one. It's a townhome project in a neighborhood called the Highlands in Denver.
Okay. Yeah, that's so you mentioned it was development. So are you did you partner with developers or you had previous experience developing? Like what's
Good question. So my career has kind of taken me onto the path of the financing side of real estate. Now I do quite a few deals outside of that, and I have my own rental properties and all of that. But really the bulk of my income has come from the financing side. And the reason for that is I just love the financing side. I love the deal structure, the creation, the negotiation. And so I started the hard money lending company, Pine Financial Group, as you know, and I started that 10 years ago. And as that's grown, my clients has grown, and they've started with the fix and flipping, which we still do a ton of that. But we also started financing new construction projects. So I've been involved in new construction and development through the lending side for years.
Gotcha.
But I finally decided to just go out and do one on my own. I wanted to see how hard is this? What are my clients going through? And let's see if I can make some money.
Yeah. So did you source the land yourself? Like take us through from start to finish. How'd you get approached with the opportunity?
It's all my network. You hear, I think it's silly, but you hear it a lot. Your network is your net worth or whatever, right? So there's some truth to that. I think it's a little cliche, but I think that if you have a large, strong network, you can accomplish anything. And this one came from my network. One of my previous clients has been doing a lot of development deals, and he had a specific property that he didn't have the resources, the financial resources to take this one down with all the other deals he had on his plate. So he called me up and he says, hey, you take this down and I'm going to help walk you through all the city approvals. We'll show you how we go through it. And then we're going to get a builder to actually build it. So I'm not out there managing subs. And then he actually owns a real estate company. So I offered him the listings for all of his support. So he brought me the deal.
And I think that's really important because he brought you the deal, but you were also able to work together to get that deal done because he brought that experience as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it worked for him, right? Because I think he made a $200,000 wholesale fee on that property, and he
Yeah.
got 6 listings out of it.
Yeah.
So it's a good win-win.
Yeah. Well, would you say that's the key in building those relationships and getting into deals is trying to find that win-win scenario?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, we're in this for the long haul. At least most of us are. I mean, there's fee-based people out there, and I get it. And you need to make the next fee and make the next fee. But if you want any longevity at all, you have to give up something. You have to work with people, and they both of you have to feel good about it. I'm
Yeah.
sure you agree.
Oh, I absolutely. And so with this development deal, like how long does it take? Because I know lots of people they might get started in a fix and flip, and then they move on to maybe some smaller multifamily properties. What does a development timeline look like?
So it's this is just in the city of Denver where we were working. And Denver is a pro-growth city. So it's going to be different depending on what city you're in. So Denver took about 9 months for the approvals from the first submission until we had our permits. And then it's a 12-month build for the 6 units. And then we were all sold out. So as soon as we got our CO, we closed them all within 2 weeks.
Wow. And what sort of challenges on the financing side? I know that that's your wheelhouse. Would somebody encounter developing versus maybe doing a smaller multifamily deal or something like that?
It's so interesting. It's like we prepared for this thing or something. This is the first time we've actually talked about it. So the financing side on this one was very interesting. And it's, again, my network came through for me because I had a partner on this one. We had a privately owned bank in Colorado lined up to do this deal. And this banker's done 4 other deals for me, including helping me build my primary home. And they got acquired by Independent Bank down in Texas. So it's a pretty large acquisition, and they no longer had the appetite for speculative building loans. Yeah. So we got cut off like within 2 weeks of us supposed to close. And we're talking about a $2 million loan. So I had to quickly shift gears, and I brought in private money. And so I had my one equity partner, and I brought in some private debt, and that's how we did this one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And what goes through your mind 2 weeks before closing, and then you get cut off? Like,
it's like, what am I going to do? But here's the thing, and I've written about this with banks. You have to have good bank relationships if you're going to really hit your potential in real estate. The privately owned local banks where you can have a relationship with them is so important. With that said, you better have a plan B because you don't ever know what their appetite's going to be and if they're going to cut you off right before you close. So have a good bank relationship and maybe a plan B.
Yeah, for sure. And do you want to talk to us a little bit, because I'm intrigued about the title of your book, The 45-Day Investor. What's that all about?
Yeah, so when I got started in real estate, I was very young. I bought my first house when I was 21, and then 2 years later, I moved out of it and bought my second. And so that's when I really fell in love with the business, and I knew real estate was going to make me rich. So I focused on it. The problem was, even though I was making money on that first project or the first property, it was so slow. It took me 2 years to buy that one property, that one rental. Yeah. So I wanted to speed this up. But the problem was I was eating top ramen. I was going to college. I was trying to work my way through all of this. I was in the National Guard, so I was working on, 1 weekend a month and all of this stuff going on. But I did not have the financial wherewithal or financial resources to do a deal or 2 a month, which is what I wanted. So I learned how to negotiate with motivated sellers to sell me their properties and carry the financing. And so that book is basically my story and how I was buying 1 to 2 houses a month with no cash or credit.
Yeah. And that's the creative real estate. That's, I think that's the best thing since sliced bread.
And then you'll grow from there. If you can negotiate and get deals with not using your own money, which is so possible, then you could just grow and your real estate expands from there. Your mind is just so creative if you go through that.
Yeah. And you said you bought your first place at 21. What was the spark that kind of showed you the way with real estate?
Okay. When I was in the Army, you don't get paid a lot, but you don't have any expenses. I was eating I'm very frugal. I was eating in the mess hall. My car was paid off. I wasn't spending money really on anything. So I had my bank account increasing a little bit. So I started reading books about investing. You know, it all comes back to Kiyosaki. I mean, we all read that, right? So
yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
So from there, it just kind of snowballed. And everything I was reading just kept focusing on real estate. Wealth is built this way. The richest people in the world hold their wealth this way. It's like, this is what I need to learn how to do. And then, so I bought a primary home right before I got out of the military that I can move into. And then I moved some friends in, right, so that they paid my mortgage for me. And it just worked out really well.
Yeah. And so along the way, you had mentioned before, you've had a bunch of failures as well. I know we weren't planning on talking about it, but do you mind sharing some of the failures and some lessons you learned?
Yeah. So the biggest failure was one of my goals that I set. My goal was a certain number of transactions, right? So I want to own 50 houses, let's say. That might have been a goal that I had in the past. Well, the problem with a goal like that is it's flawed, because now I'm buying shitty houses to reach my goal.
Yeah.
And I'm putting not great financing in place. So we're doing interest only, adjustable rate loans, and all of this leading up to the credit crash in 2008, right?
Yeah.
And so 2008 really brought me down. So the biggest thing isn't one specific property, but it was, again, comes back to your mindset, but the way I was structuring my goals, which I was accomplishing my goals, but the goal was flawed.
Yeah.
I have several more though. Giving money to owners with getting deeds. I was going to negotiate short sales, but the bank says no, so I lose all my money and lost 150 grand on a hotel deal. Here's the thing: hotels, assisted living, those are pretty popular. I'm hearing a lot about this right now. Those are businesses. Those aren't real estate deals. So I bought a hotel thinking it's a real estate deal, and I quickly learned that I have to run a hotel as a business, which I was not capable of doing, and I ended up losing 150 grand.
Yeah.
I think I'd be very careful what your goals are and what you're buying into.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure in 2008, you lost more than 150 grand. So how do you pick yourself up after that? Because I know, I've spoken with a bunch of people where they took significant hits, and each has a different way of how they got back on the horse. What did you do?
Oh, I had to go back to work. So that was the obvious one, because I had to pay bills. My first daughter was born in 2008. So I had to support that, right?
Yeah.
So I went back to work, but I've already done that once before. I'm making phone calls on my lunch breaks and on my breaks, working after work, working on the weekends. And I just didn't give up. I knew real estate was going to make me rich. I just had to figure out exactly how. So learning from my mistakes, I would go in much less leveraged, much better financing in place on my properties. But I already knew how to buy properties.
Yeah. So you weren't turned off of real estate at that point. It was just the strategy and the way you were doing it needed some fixing.
Exactly. And now, and anyone who's been through 2008 is probably prepared for whatever might happen now in the future. So yeah. I think I'm much more prepared and to take advantage of a crash like that.
Yeah. So what sort of tips, if somebody's watching and they're just, maybe they saw the impact of 2008, what tips would you give that person watching about how to prepare and to make sure that your house is in order in case that happens?
Yeah. Well, I really think you have to have a strong network. So I would start there. Always be networking. Go out to events, meet people, treat people right, return phone calls and emails. I hate it when someone doesn't return a phone call. I push them to the side, honestly, if that happens. So I'd say build up a good network, but then also liquidity is king. A lot of people go in, and you could buy property, no money down. And my book, 45-Day Investor, teaches you how to do it. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have any money, because things happen in this business. And if you don't have the reserves to fall back on, you're going to get hurt. And that liquidity is also super powerful when the market turns, because you'll be one of very few that are in a buying position. I'm not saying don't buy now and save all of your cash, but I wouldn't say spend all of your cash in real estate and go broke either. So I guess liquidity and your network so that you can have the deals come in.
Yeah, for sure. And so, thinking back, you're a young guy in the National Guard. How has real estate changed your life and set you up?
Oh, I'm not even 40 yet, and I don't have to work anymore. So that's probably says it all. I'm so incredibly fortunate, and now I could do some charity work. I love spending time with the Boys and Girls Clubs in Denver. So I volunteer a lot for them. And just to see the impact and help these kids that doesn't have anybody else to help them, lift them up. You know what? It feels so good. I mean, I live in an amazing life that I would not have if I didn't explore and get into real estate.
Yeah. And would you say that starting to think about other people before yourself, was that a big driver in how your business grew after that? I'm interested in that shift from thinking about yourself to thinking about other people.
I think I've always kind of thought of other people and trying to make it a win for them. And sometimes it was to my detriment. Like I would do a lease option, for example, and the seller would be so worried about the tax benefits of selling within 3 years of them moving out. You know, if you own it for 2 of 3 years, you don't pay capital gains tax. So I would structure my deals where I would promise to buy the house within 3 years. But now in a market where the values are decreasing, now I'm putting myself in a bind because I can't buy that house for less than it's worth, but I made the promise. So here I am bringing in other cash to buy this person's house to fulfill my promise. So I guess I've always kind of focused on them, and sometimes to a detriment. It was the balance of actually starting to focus on me a little bit more as I progressed that I really started to benefit from.
That's really interesting. And I think, you know, we've just met for the first time, you know, over through this interview, but it seems to me that the type of person that would still close on the deal at the price they said they would, even though the market conditions aren't the best for you, I think that says a lot about your character, right? And that must have had a big impact on your business for the long term.
Oh, for sure. I have, I'm working on a development deal right now that should net me 7 figures. And I got that deal post 2008 because I was in a lease option with an owner and I never missed a payment. Even though I was missing payments on my bank loans and my mortgages and my credit cards and all this other stuff, I would not miss a payment to any of my owners. And so I maintained that relationship, and he ended up selling me a house later that I'm going to make $1 million on.
Yeah. It all comes back to you at some point.
I think
right?
so.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, Kevin, if somebody's looking to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing, where can they find you?
Yeah, the 45-day investors at 45dayinvestor.com. I don't make much money on it. It's like $8 on Amazon. But me personally and my company is pinefinancialgroup.com. That's really the best way to go.
Oh, that's great. Well, Kevin, just want to say thanks so much for taking the time today and sharing your stories with us.
I hope you guys got some value out of it. And I really appreciate, Seth, that you even putting on this podcast and inviting great guests.
That's right.
I really appreciate you doing this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's a blast. So to you, our viewers, I wish you well in your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.